All right, today we're diving into Indonesia, a country that's really at a turning point with its energy. You see, it's making this huge, massive bet on a technology that could be a total game changer, or it could be a really costly road to nowhere. We're talking about hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. So let's break down what's really at stake here.
And that big bet leads to an even bigger question. I mean, for a country that relies so heavily on imported oil, is hydrogen really the silver bullet? Can it solve that deep-seated addiction? That's the central question we're going to try and answer today.
So, why is Indonesia even thinking about hydrogen in the first place? Well, to get that, you've got to understand the massive problem they're facing right now. They're really at a critical moment, a huge energy crossroads. Okay, take a look at this number. 80%. That is a huge deal. That's roughly how much of its oil Indonesia has to import from other countries. And listen, this isn't just some number on a spreadsheet. It means the price you pay for gas, the cost of food, pretty much everything is tied to the whims of the global oil market. It leaves their entire economy in a really precarious, vulnerable spot. But here's the wild part, the real irony. While they're spending all this money importing oil, Indonesia is literally sitting on a gold mine of clean energy. We're talking about a mind-boggling 3,686 gigawatts of untapped potential from things like solar and geothermal power. And that's where hydrogen comes in. It's seen as this potential bridge, right? A way to connect their own clean energy resources to their transportation needs and finally break free from that oil dependency.
Okay, so let's get into the solution they're proposing. These hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, or FCEVs. The idea sounds great, right? Clean fuel. But here's something you absolutely need to know. Not all hydrogen is made the same way. Not by a long shot.
First up, you've got what's called gray hydrogen. Now, this is the stuff that makes up almost all the hydrogen in the world today, like 95% of it. And the dirty little secret? It's made from fossil fuels like natural gas. So yeah, the process itself, it's not clean at all. Then there's blue hydrogen. This is kind of a middle ground. It's also made from fossil fuels, but, and this is the key difference, they capture the carbon emissions that are produced. So it's definitely better than gray, a lot better, but it's still not a totally zero-emission fuel. You can think of it as a bridge technology. And finally, we get to the holy grail, green hydrogen. This is the one everybody's excited about. It's made by splitting water, yep, just H2O, using electricity that comes from 100% renewable sources. We're talking about that solar and geothermal power that Indonesia has so much of. This is the only process that is truly, completely carbon-free. So this is the most important takeaway, right? The whole clean energy promise of hydrogen cars, it completely depends on which color of hydrogen you're pumping into the tank. If Indonesia actually wants to meet its climate targets, there's no way around it. It has to be green hydrogen. So how do these hydrogen cars actually compare to, regular gas cars or even battery electric vehicles? This is where it gets really interesting. On paper, they look like the best of both worlds. You get the zero tailpipe emissions of an EV, which is awesome, but you also get the long range and super fast refueling, like 5 minutes, that you're used to with a gasoline car. And get this, based on Indonesia's early tests, the fuel costs per kilometer could actually be the cheapest of them all. Pretty compelling, right?
But, of course, there's a catch. And it's a big one. It's all about efficiency. Think about it like this. From the power source all the way to the wheels turning, how much energy is wasted? Well, battery electric vehicles are incredible. They're about 75% efficient. But hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, they're way down around 30%. That's not much better than a gas car. So what does that mean? It means even if the car itself is zero emission, you have to generate way more clean electricity to make it go, the same distance as a battery EV. And look, that efficiency problem, it's just the tip of the iceberg. The road ahead for a hydrogen-powered Indonesia is, to put it mildly, a really steep uphill battle. And if you want a perfect picture of just how big that challenge is, look at this. Right now, in the entire country of Indonesia, there is one single public hydrogen refueling station. Just one. For comparison, a much smaller country like Japan has around 160. So we're not talking about a gap here. We're talking about a massive chasm. It's not just about the stations either. There are a ton of other roadblocks. For one, making that green hydrogen is still really expensive. We're talking $5 to $10 a kilogram.
Then there's the government side of things. There aren't really any specific rules or incentives to encourage people to buy FCEVs. And on top of all that, you need a skilled workforce, engineers, technicians, and right now there just aren't enough people who know how to build and run all this new stuff. The good news is, Indonesia doesn't have to figure all this out alone. Other countries are already way down this road, and they've learned some hard lessons. So let's look at what these pioneers have discovered, both the good and the bad.
Okay, so what are the big lessons? Well, from Japan, we learn you have to build the fueling stations first. If you push cars before people have a place to fuel them, you get that classic chicken and egg problem and nothing happens. From South Korea, the lesson is simple. The hydrogen fuel has to be reliable and it has to be affordable. If drivers can't count on it, they won't buy in. And Germany offers a really smart strategy. Don't start with regular cars. Focus on commercial fleets first, big trucks and buses. That's where hydrogen's long range and fast refueling really make a difference. All right, so with all those lessons in mind, what's Indonesia's actual plan? How are they going to do this? Well, the government has actually put together a pretty detailed roadmap that stretches out over decades to try and make this happen. Basically, they've broken it down into 3 big phases. Phase 1, from now until 2030, is all about building the foundation. So, setting up small pilot projects, figuring out the regulations, just getting the basics in place. Then Phase 2, from 2030 to 2040, is the scale-up. That's when they want to really expand the refueling network and start requiring hydrogen use in certain industries. And finally, Phase 3, from 2040 all the way to 2060, is about reaching maturity. The goal is a full-blown hydrogen economy that can stand on its own feet.
And that brings us right back to the beginning. Look, there is zero doubt that Indonesia has the natural resources, all that renewable energy potential to make this work. The technology is there, they've got a plan on paper, but the one thing we don't know, the real X factor, is this. Do they have the political will, the sheer determination to stick with this plan through a long, expensive, and incredibly difficult journey? The potential is there, but is the will? That's the billion-dollar question.